With breaking news from the Middle East, prospects of any deal to end the Israel-Gaza war have been dealt another blow, with reports that the mediators, Qatar, are pulling out of negotiations. The Gulf state has played a key diplomatic role in trying to bring an end to the conflict, to prevent further loss of life, secure the release of the remaining Israeli hostages held by Hamas, as well as taking part in talks. Qatar has hosted the political office of Hamas, allowing the group to operate with relative freedom. Let's speak to our correspondent, Joe Inwood, who's in Jerusalem for us. Joe, just talk us through what we know.
So we've had reports come through in the last hour or so that have come from the Reuters and AFP news agencies, quoting a Qatari diplomatic source saying that they are no longer participating, they're no longer taking part, as you were saying, as a key mediator in these peace talks between Hamas and Israel. They also had strong words for both sides, essentially implying that neither were negotiating, neither were operating in good faith. And as a follow-on to that, they said that therefore the Hamas political office, which has been based in Qatar since 2012, no longer serves any purpose. They didn't elaborate on that. But this follows also reports we had earlier in the day coming from Washington that a senior official there, also quoted by news agencies, saying that they no longer thought it was acceptable for Hamas to have its office based in Qatar as long as they were refusing to take part in negotiations, which reportedly they turned down a deal that was put to them in October. So we've had a number of developments today, all of which paint a fairly bleak picture from any prospects of some sort of negotiated deal.
Yes, so just talk us through what this now means for any potential talks in the future. What are the mechanisms? How could this work?
Well, I mean, it's worth saying that these talks have basically been going nowhere as far as we can tell for months. There were reports of something on the table earlier in the year, a deal that was agreed by the Americans and by Hamas, which was reportedly turned down by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, and then also reports that they weren't getting any progress in October. We had some suggestion they were going to be restarting, but really they haven't been making any substantial progress as far as anyone can tell for months and months now. And obviously this development makes it even more difficult. We, of course, do still have the Egyptians. They talk to both sides, and the Americans have been pushing for some sort of improvement in the humanitarian situation in Gaza and for a deal. And it was thought that the the attempt to get Hamas kicked out of Doha was part of that negotiating strategy, potentially. But it doesn't seem that anyone is really viewing this as a peace process which is going to be making any progress at this point. However, it is worth pointing out as a kind of slight contrary point to that there are some reports that have been coming through that incoming President Trump has said that he wants Benjamin Netanyahu to have the war in Gaza over by the time he comes to power in January the 20th. So there could be a glimmer of hope there, although as ever with Donald Trump, we should caveat things by saying we really don't know what he's going to do.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much for that.